Where the Wild Things Are is about a boy named Max who feels misunderstood at home and at school. He escapes to the land of the wild things who are creatures. They allow Max to become their leader, and he promises to create a kingdom where everyone will be happy. However, Max soon finds that being king is not easy, and even being with the wild things, there is something missing. While reading the book in class, the students will work together to create a graphic organizer of all the different creatures in the book. The book will show students at a young age that they are able to use their imagination to create something special. This book was valuable in the classroom because it's fun for the kindergartners to read and it starts their love of reading. If Chocolate Were Purple is based on a world where chocolate is purple, where roller skates grow on trees, and where all kinds of things turn topsy and turvy. One thing you can count on is love. Full of delightful rhymes and whimsical imagery, this is a fun bedtime story that will warm hearts and ignite imaginations. In the classroom, the students will write their own poem on a topic they select that has to use rhyming words. This book is good to help students understand rhymes and imagery. I felt this book was good for first graders to start understanding rhyming words in a book that is as well as in a poem. Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs is a book where hamburgers fall from the sky, as do scrambled eggs, as do cherry pie, and you guessed it, meatballs. When the weather turns nasty, down rains stinking gorgonzola, overcooked broccoli, and thick tomato sauce. Can Grandpa, Kate, and Henry find a way to deal with it? In the classroom for this book, the students will create graphic organizers about the main idea of this book. This book will help students identify the main idea of a story. I felt this book was valuable for first graders because it's a funny book for them to read while learning about main ideas. How the Grinch Stole Christmas is a book based on the town of Merry Christmas lovers called the Who's that go about their annual holiday preparations. Up in the caves north of their town lives a character named the Grinch who absolutely hates Christmas. The class would create a cause and effect organizer. This book is good for students to learn cause and effect by looking at how the Grinch acts throughout the book. This book is perfect for second graders around Christmas time because it expands the students' knowledge on cause and effect while allowing them to enjoy the book. The Lorax is a book based on the story of a boy who's looking for answers. Living in a ruined town, this little guy wants to know the story of the Lorax, so he goes to the Once-a-Lear, an elderly inventor/manufacturer. That Once-a-Lear tells the boy how the town came to be ruined and most importantly what he can do to turn things around. The students will create a short summary of the book using graphic organizers. Writing summaries is important for students to learn and practice, and this book is good for practice. I felt like this book was important for second graders because it has enough pages where they would have to really condense the book to create a good summary. Jumanji is a book where Peter and Judy's parents head to the opera, leaving the children to their own devices for the afternoon. The children's excitement quickly turns to boredom. This changes when they find what appears to be an ordinary board game labeled Jumanji, sitting under the tree in the park. A note taped around the box warns them to read the instructions. Mildly curious, the children take the game home. When they half-heartedly begin to play, it becomes immediately apparent that they are dealing with an unusual game. The students will be using sticky notes throughout the story in the classroom. This book will be good to help the students learn how to predict what will happen next in the story. I felt this book was very helpful for the third grade students because the book had lots of different ways it could have gone and the students could predict what's going to happen. The Polar Express is based on a young boy who is recalling one special Christmas Eve. Through the flashback, we learn that on Christmas Eve long ago, the young boy was kept awake remembering a friend's comment about Santa. Because he's never heard Santa's sleigh bells, Santa couldn't be real. The boy immediately doubted his friend's claims. Later in the night, the boy was stirred by the sounds of an approaching train that stops in front of his house. The conductor invited the boy to board the train to the North Pole, and he agreed. Once on the train, the boy sees the other young passengers are dressed in pajamas and sipping velvetly hot chocolate. The train crosses through thick forests, up mountains, and over great polar ice caps. For this book, the students will use sentence structures to ask why something happened in the book that they did not quite understand. This book will help students know that they can ask questions when they want to know something that happened. I felt it was important for the students to read because it was a classic Christmas book that students can learn from. James and the Giant Peach is based on a young boy named James Henry who was an orphan. He must leave his pleasant home by the seaside and go live with two cruel aunts, Sponge and Spiker, who treat him like a slave. One day an old man appears, offering James a bag of crystals that he said will make something marvelous happen. The old man's magic causes a dead peach tree to grow a piece of fruit that is the size of a house, and that is the start of James' fantastic adventure. After reading this book, the students will draw a picture of how they believe the story went. This book will help the students visualize the story as they read it. If I felt this book was necessary to read because it allows the students to paint a picture in their head while reading the story. Diary of a Wimpy Kid is based on a boy named Greg Heffley who gets a journal from his mom and records all of his middle school years worth of crazy kid schemes, brushes and bullies, bad units in gym class, bids for student government, schools play, humiliation, and more. The students will keep their own journal while reading this book and continue their journals when they are done with reading the book. This book is good for the students to learn how to properly write a journal. I felt like this book was important for the students to read because a lot of students write diaries, but they should know how to write a journal correctly. Birds of Terabithia is based on two teen outsiders. One is Jessie, who's quiet and artistic, and the other is free-spirited Leslie. They become best friends and escape from overbearing parents and bullies at their school in their own private kingdom of Terabithia. Their world is shattered by a tragic accident. In the classroom, the students will try and identify the theme by using graphic organizers. This book is an amazing way to learn how to identify the theme. I felt this book was important for the students to read because it's not a normal book and it'll make the students think. Charlotte's Web is based on a little girl firm when she convinces her father not to kill the runt pig of the litter. She names him Wilbur and raises him with a bottle. Soon Wilbur goes to live with her Uncle Homer down the road, where she visits him every day, but when she's not there, Wilbur is lonely. The sheep, cows, geese, and even the rats don't want to play and be his friend. Then he meets Charlotte, a gray spider whose web is in the corner of the barn. They become good friends, but soon after they learn Wilbur is the next to be slaughtered and make into ham and bacon. So Charlotte hatches a plan to make the Zuckermans want to keep Wilbur around forever. For this book, the class will complete an anticipation guide on the different animals in the book. This book is a great way for students to learn more about animals. I thought this was important for the children to read because it covers information on animals. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone is based on a little boy named Harry Potter. His magical parents were killed by the evil wizard Voldemort when he was just a baby. Miraculously, he survived with only a lightning bolt scar as a mysterious reminder. Harry is taken to live with his nasty relatives who hide the truth about his parents. 10 years later, he gets a visit from a half-giant named Hagrid and an invitation to study at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. At the school, Harry makes friends, fights trolls, and learns how to play fantastic school sports, Quidditch, and uncovers the three-headed dog that guards a secret. Meanwhile, he must contend with Professor Snape, who hates him, and Draco Malfoy, who's a bratty student. When a mystery arises about the Sorcerer's Stone, which is supposed to possess the powers of immorality, Harry discovers that Voldemort is trying to steal it so he can regain his power. In the classroom, the students will be completing inquiry chart on the author's crafting technique. This book is a great way for the students to focus on the type of writing. I felt this book was valuable because the author is a great writer and the students could admire and learn from. The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe is based on four siblings who discover that a wardrobe in an old country house is a portal to the magical land of Narnia. There, Edmund meets the evil White Witch and is lured into betraying his siblings, but the plot fails. Meanwhile, the Lion, the Lord of Narnia, returns to the land. At the end of the witch's long, joyless winter, the children who allude to the witch's grasp meet with him. Before their adventure is done, they will face the fierce battle, devastating loss, and a glorious triumph, all while learning the lessons about faith, forgiveness, and more. The students will be reading the book by themselves, and the teacher will conduct one-on-one reading conferences throughout the time they are reading the book. This book allows the students to read the book that they enjoy by themselves on a topic that has to use their imagination. I felt it was important for the students to read this book because it will help them continue their love for reading in middle school. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is based on a little boy named Charlie Bucket who is practically starving to death, but when his luck changes for the better when he wins a lifetime supply of candy and a chance to visit Willy Wonka's fabulous top-secret chocolate factory. This charming tale has captivated children for more than decades. Five lucky people who find a golden ticket wrapped in one of Willy Wonka's wonderful candy bars win a visit to his mysterious chocolate factory. Charlie Bucket is too poor to buy more than one piece of candy each year, so when he wins a ticket, his whole family celebrates. The four other lucky children are not as nice as Charlie, and they are punished for their bad behavior. Greedy Augustus Gloop falls into the chocolate river. Chewing gum addict Violet sticks a grabs a stick of gum that blows her up into a gigantic blueberry. Spoiled Veronica Salt is deemed a bad nut by Willy Wonka's trained squirrels, and Mike TV demands to be sent to television and shrinks into the process. But there is a wonderful surprise waiting for Charlie at the end of the tour. The students will complete the graphic organizer using the 5 W's: who, what, where, when, and why. This book will help the students understand the importance of family, and I believe it was important for the children to read this book because of the family aspect it has. The Kingdom Keepers is based on Finn and 4 other teens that are selected to be holographic hosts at Florida's Disney World. Holograms of these teens lead visitors through the Magic Kingdom, giving visitors information. Their lives as minor celebrities are going fine until they discover at night when they sleep they become both hologram and human. Their holograms are lured back into the Magic Kingdom at night by a retired park Imagineer who convinces them to fight against the evil Overtakers, who are trying to take control of Magic Kingdom and eventually the world. The evil Overtakers are led by evil Maleficent from Disney's Sleeping Beauty, who is aided by characters from the popular rides, Pirates from Pirates of the Caribbean, the cute dolls from It's a Small World, who chase and bite the teens while eerily singing their famous song. The students will create a timeline of the events that happen throughout the book once they are completed reading it. This book will help the students use their imagination when it comes to theme parks at night. I felt this was a great book for the students to read because Disney is a very popular theme park and it would keep their attention. Twilight is based on Bella Swan, who moves in with her father once her mother gets remarried. Her father, Charlie, lives in a small town in Washington where it rains nearly all the time. There she meets Edward, a strange, gorgeous boy from a strange and gorgeous family. Soon she falls madly in love with him. She also discovers that he and his family are vampires, which doesn't bother her at all. But it bothers Edward, even though his family long ago swore off human blood in favor of animals. He still worries for her safety, both him and with his family, who control their lust for human blood only by willpower. For this book, the students will complete a Venn diagram on the similarities and differences between vampires and humans. This book will show students a different side of vampires that is not usually shown. I felt this book was necessary for the students to read because it shows that a subject does not always have to be written the same way. The Hobbit is a story about a hobbit that never asked for an adventure. It literally came knocking on his door, and the wizard showed up to hire Bilbo as a thief in their quest to reclaim a hoard of treasure. It's stashed far away and guarded by a fierce dragon. Bilbo will have to cross the misty mountains and untamed wilds of Mirkwood, where straying from the path can be deadly. In exchange, he gets even a share of the treasure and quite a story to tell. But only one little hobbit really up for such a big adventure. The students will write a journal answering specific questions about the book. This book is great for having to keep the reader's attention because of all the details. I felt this book was valuable to read because it shows the students how much they have to pay attention while reading a book. The Hunger Games is based in the future where the U.S. is gone. In its place is Panem, in which a city of the capital somewhere in the Rockies rules over 12 rebellious districts. To maintain an iron grip, the capital holds an annual televised reality show, a lethal form of Survivor, to which each district must send one boy and one girl. Out of these 24 teens, only one will survive. Katniss, who volunteers to take her sister's place, and Peeta are the District 12's competitors. But their competition is complicated by Peeta's announcement that he's in love with Katniss. The students will draw a picture of how they believe the Hunger Games arena is set up. These books prove how important the description words are in a book. I thought this book was essential for the students to read to show them how much description of words can help the reader visualize the setting and story. Urgent is based in Chicago in the distant future, where society has willingly segregated itself into 5 fractions. All 16-year-olds take an aptitude test revealing their true fraction and choose one to join regardless of what the one they were born into. When Beatrice's results are inconclusive, her tester informs her that she's a divergent and should never mention her results to anybody. Believing herself too selfish to be any good, she chooses Dauntless, where she rechristens herself Triss. During the dangerous, bloody, dauntless initiation process, she develops feeling for her handsome, mysterious instructor 4, who never fails to challenge her to perform her best, even though others grow jealous of her unexpected skills. The students will do an assignment in the classroom that is graphic organizers comparing and contrasting the different factions in the story. This book is a good way of showing students the different ideas of how the world could be. I believe this book was important to have students read because it gets them to compare and contrast multiple pieces of information. Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children is based on a 16-year-old Jacob who grew up in his father's weird but fascinating stories about his past. Were they true or not? It was hard to tell. When Grandpa dies from mysterious mauling, the Jacob falls apart and he begins to search for something that will help him make sense of things. With his father, he goes to an island off the coast of Wales to find an orphanage where his grandfather has been sent as a boy before World War II. There he ventures into a fantastical world of peculiars, monsters, and time loops, where he uncovers a world of stranger and more dangerous than anything he could have ever imagined. Actual vintage photographs, starting with levitating girl on the cover, are scattered throughout the book, introducing various peculiars and moving the story along through several haunting adventures toward its chilling ending. The students will create a timeline showing the order in which the events happen in the book. The book shows students that the real pieces of information can play a role in a fantasy book. I felt this book was significant for the children to read because it proves that if you write a timeline about the order of events in a book, it's not always how the order of events happened.